have a background in geology? No. Background in mining? No. Background in geology? No. But what happened? They understood the trend. If you understand, and you've heard that cliche, the trend is your friend. All of you in this room can do it. All of you can do it. All of you. Let me give you a couple of other great examples. Not just of making money, but preventing you from losing money. The U.S. dollar. Well, what happens in the United States is they have something very, very popular called a printing press in the United States, okay? And basically the way a printing press works is something like this. Every day, we have to feed our soldiers in the Middle East. We have to pay for Social Security, hospital expenses, everything for the population. And by the time we collect all the tax dollars, on a day-to-day basis, we are about $2 billion short. Wow. But that's okay, because at the Federal Reserve, we have something called a printing press. So all we'll do is we'll print more money, more money, more money, and we'll send out the checks, and we'll pay for everything that we have to pay for. Okay? Now, if you own a business, and you spend a lot more money than you take in on a day-to-day basis, what happens? You go bankrupt. But the word is central bankers around the world, the arrogance of central bankers is that we can't go bankrupt. We have what's referred to as fractional banking, and we can print off as much money as we want. You see, paper money eventually becomes worth its intrinsic value, which is zero. So the trend is this. When you force feed that much money into the market on a day-to-day basis, you create something called inflation. Now, let me ask, how many people in the room think that inflation is higher prices? Okay? Raise it nice and high, nice and high, nice and high. Okay. You see, what inflation is more money supply chasing the same amount of goods and services. And then that's what causes higher prices. And when you looked at that, all of that money being force-fed into the market on a day-to-day basis, you looked at it and you say, wow, in an inflationary environment, gold does well. Because people get concerned about the devaluing of their own currency. So what I started to talk about in the trend, and the trend is your friend, I started to say, members, start looking at owning a lot of gold in your portfolio. And once again, people understood the trend. They started to read. They started to empower themselves. And at the end of it, they started to say, okay, they bought gold. They bought gold stocks that were producers, not exploration companies, because exploration companies is not real gold in the bank. They bought producers, and they bought actual what's referred to as an exchange-traded fund. And that means you just go up and you can buy a piece of paper on the American Exchange with the symbol GLD, that means gold. And if you buy it, you actually own gold bullion, and that paper is secured by having gold in a vault somewhere about a quarter mile under the ground. All right? And when people understood that trend and they understood what was going on, they empowered themselves and they went out and they started to make money for themselves. And that's what you can do. Now, another thing is when we talked about that much money being force-fed into the market every single day, and then we looked at a massive trade imbalance, because when you look at oil, the United States has a net deficit of 10 million barrels a day. 12 million. She consumes 22 million barrels a day. She can only produce 10. All all of that, U.S. dollars, goes out of the country. And the United States has a huge trade imbalance as well. When I looked at those two factors, the U.S. dollar going down, I said, well, U.S. dollars, gold is primarily priced in U.S. dollars. Great. We should buy a lot of gold. Once again, went around, talked to members in a room, talked to people who were involved. And what they said to me, I went and I said, how are you doing in the markets? How have you done? Fantastic. What have you been investing in? Well, the trend is your friend. I've been buying gold and gold stocks. How have you done? Fantastic. You can do it. You can truly do it. You have invested your time, your energy, your airfares, your hotels, time away from your friends, time away from your work, time away from your family to come out to a world-class event this weekend. But keep in mind, all of that is fantastic as long as you take action steps. Let's hear it. As long as you take action steps. So that's the key. That's the key. You can absolutely do it. I'm going to show you ways to take action steps. What are we hitting? We are hitting 100%. I've been running the club for 6 years with thousands of members. The trends that I've talked about have been bang on accurately time after time after time. Now, there's so much that I want to share with all of you, and it's just so, there could be hours and hours, but I know we've got a limited amount of time, so there is one big one right now that I do want to share, and we hear about it every single day, and it impacts all of our lives. As a matter of fact, just about everything in the room is made from it. We've got the walls, the carpets, your clothes, your shoes. What am I referring to? Oil. Oil. So, what the heck is going on with oil? Once again, we are in a secular bull market in commodity prices that is going to last at least 20 years. We are in year 6 of at least a 20-year cycle. You can do two things. You can sit on the sideline and you can watch everyone else make money, or you can jump in yourself and you can get involved and finally you can make money for yourself. Because it is about empowerment of yourself. You have to get out and understand what's going on in the world. So, first of all, let's look at demand fundamentals. Here's a great example. I went back to China about 8 months ago. And my good friend lives in Beijing. When I was there 6 years ago, I used to get on the highway with him, and we would drive to his office. It was about 15 miles, and about a half a mile away from the office, we'd get into heavy traffic. When I was there a few months ago, when we left the place I was staying and we started to drive to his office, we would get into immediate heavy traffic at about mile 1. And what used to take about 20 minutes took 2 hours. And you know what that is? 14,000 new cars on the road every single day. That is a lot of automobiles. That takes a lot of steel, a lot of copper, a lot of all commodities, vinyl, leather, everything. A lot of global warming, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of things. That's why I'm such a strong proponent of nuclear energy. There's no perfect, safe energy, but that's the cleanest form. So, oil, India, same thing. These people in India and China, 2.4 billion people. That, you see, 20 years ago, China was an agrarian society. And what the Communist Party realized at those days is there's no way we're ever going to